In their July 30th podcast, Jeremy claims, "This is the first time we're even talking about it." The Jinger and Jeremy podcast July 30th edition featured Jeremy Vuolo and Jinger Duggar Vuolo talking about a challenging period the newlyweds had to go through. The 2016 wedding couple talked candidly about how being by themselves and unable to rely on anybody else helped them grow closer to God. They both view it as a turning point in their relationship in retrospect. Jinger Duggar and husband Jeremy are among the Vuolos who are talking about a challenging time in their marriage. In the latest episode of the Jinger and Jeremy podcast, which aired on July 30th, the hosts sat down to discuss their relationships with newlyweds Lydia Plath and Zach Weiss. As they prepare to celebrate 9 years of marriage, 31-year-old Jinger and 37-year-old Jeremy have been thinking back on the challenges they have overcome together. "Every one of us needs to learn how to walk alone with the Lord," said Jeremy. "When we were still early in our marriage, we experienced what I would describe as a deep act of betrayal. For the straightforward reason that whenever the fundamental relationships in your life are disrupted or removed, you feel as though you're asking yourself, 'What am I doing?' Sometimes in life, you'll both be going through tough times. Sometimes, one of you will be very stable while the other is not, so you're supporting each other," said Jeremy. "We were both profoundly unsettled at that moment. We could feel that shaking." He said that the wise words of the pastor would live indelibly in his mind. "Jeremy, I think the Lord is teaching you how to walk alone," he said. "As a marriage, we must rely on the Lord since we cannot be separated from Him or from one another." Although he didn't elaborate much on the events that led to their collaboration, he did thank them for the influence it had. His discovery was that he had mentioned it for the first time. "We are still in Los Angeles after 8 years, surrounded by a strong community that we are devoted to and friends that are like family. At the same time, we had nothing that we have now. Nevertheless, I'm happy I lived through those years." Jeremy then claimed that it wasn't even family members who had deceived him. "And I know a lot of you will likely attempt to figure it out. I had been anticipating her meeting and connecting with some of the people she had impacted in my life, but then things became difficult. During those periods of devotion and prayer," she said, "you humbly ask the Lord to step in and support you during this difficult time. It was also important to us as newlyweds since it let us get to know each other better." She continued by saying, "The Lord had a perfect plan for us at that precise moment. And so, simply putting our trust in Him no matter what, even when we can't see what's ahead, is faith." Jeremy reflected on the experience and said, "The greatest lessons we've ever learned came from it." In 2016, Jinger and Jeremy were married. Their 3 children are Finnegan Charles, Evangeline Joe, and Felicity Nicole. When Jinger Duggar and Jeremy Vuolo got married in November 2016, fans of Counting On believed they were seeing a dream wedding. For Jinger, who had been up in the shadow of her ultra-conservative family, their lovely courtship, extravagant wedding, and subsequent move to Laredo, Texas, marked a new beginning. Jeremy, on the other hand, has opened up about a horrible and very personal challenge they had early in their marriage. This challenge put his trust to the test, shook their relationship, and nearly destroyed their bond, all within months of saying "I do." Recently, Jeremy talked openly about what he refers to as a betrayal in an interview for his next autobiographical project, tentatively titled Becoming Us. This betrayal was emotional in nature, involving expectations, secrets, and internal conflict that nearly consumed them both rather than the extreme, tabloid notion of adultery or scandal. "I wish I knew her." According to Jeremy, the betrayal did not happen overnight. Something started to form in the quiet, wordless moments that went by between them. Jeremy admitted, "When I married Jinger, I thought I knew her heart completely. What I failed to anticipate, however, was that she remained burdened with hidden anxieties, repressed ideas, and emotional anguish stemming from a childhood in which dissenting opinions were frowned upon." Shortly after they were married, Jeremy noticed a change in Jinger's character. She spoke less and less. Sometimes, for no apparent reason, she would cry. She would sometimes retreat, even from conversations that may have strengthened their relationship. Jeremy mentioned that he would ask simple questions to find out how she felt about a church sermon or a spiritual topic they were discussing. Sometimes she would paralyze herself totally. She'd say, "I'm not sure if I'm allowed to think differently," More painful than the fact that she disagreed was the fact that she didn't feel comfortable enough to express her views. The confession that breaks illusions. They were barely married for a short time when Jinger suffered a mental breakdown one evening. According to Jeremy, she told him she had been attempting to conceal her mental, emotional, and spiritual confusion. She told me whether or not she thought all she had been taught as a child was true. Furthermore, she was afraid that if she informed me, I would be let down or possibly leave. At the moment, according to Jeremy, it felt like a betrayal, not because she had done anything wrong, but rather because the trust he thought they had built wasn't yet sincere. It wasn't her that betrayed me. It was the delusion we'd both bought into. That love required acting, that faith implied consensus, and that marriage ensured perpetual harmony. He admitted that his ego was responsible for some of his pain. She wouldn't share her doubts with me, even though I thought I was the one helping her grow and heal. I was upset for a while by that. Accepting grace. The Vuolos chose to confront the discomfort rather than run away from one another. Counseling, prayer, and long, tearful conversations became daily rituals. Jinger progressively shared more of her past, including her struggles with anxiety, her questions about the Institute in Basic Life Principles IBLP, and the need to maintain a particular public image. Jeremy decided to walk with Jinger instead of attempting to fix her. I came to the realization that my role as a husband was not to exert command over her, but rather to love her with the gentleness and patience of Christ, without expecting her to conform. During this time, Jinger began reading theology on her own terms and pursuing her studies more thoroughly. She found a spirituality that was genuine and significant to her after questioning her upbringing. Inspired by that journey, she went on to co-write Becoming Free Indeed, a book about her spiritual awakening and her decision to reject her family's faith. Contradictory private and public pressures. For a couple already under close public observation, the betrayal and its consequences were considerably more difficult. Every happy photo, every YouTube video, every sermon Jeremy gave had to coexist with their personal problems. Fans watched the Vuolo-styled version, which included adorable kids, well-coordinated outfits, and faith-filled messages. No one paid attention to the evenings of sorrow, confusion, and silence. The hardest part could be pretending we were okay if we weren't, Jeremy remarked. It wasn't always a picnic as we discovered our individual and collective selves. Sincerity as a route to salvation. After more than 9 years of marriage, Jeremy and Jinger consider the challenging start and how it influenced their relationship. Our strength now comes from honestly walking through brokenness, not from avoiding it, said Jeremy. Regarding Jinger, she has begun to share more about her path to recovery, voice, and freedom from a fear-based religious system. Jeremy has also grown as a husband who can listen, own up to his mistakes, and accept the development pains, not as a spiritual leader with all the answers. A new foundation. After moving to Los Angeles and raising 2 daughters, the Vuolos seem more grounded than ever, but in a different way. Instead of being flawless, they now radiate grace and modesty. Jeremy never ceases stressing that faith is about love, not domination, even as he continues to study theology and preach. Oh, and that betrayal early on? According to Jeremy, he wouldn't take it off even if he could. Even though it was awful, that was the pivotal moment. It was essential to be genuine. It broke the image we felt we had to maintain and gave us freedom, grace, and honesty. Final thoughts. The betrayal that tabloids aren't making a big deal out of Jeremy Vuolo's confession. It has a great deal more depth and relatability. This kind of betrayal happens when 2 individuals think they know each other well, but later find they still have a lot of work to do in their relationship.